Hey there and welcome to my channel. My name is Rocco and I do DAZ 3D tutorial videos to help you to get the most out of your own renders. This is the next part in my beginner to advanced DAZ 3D series. In the last video I gave a quick look at the customization options within the DAZ 3D user interface to get everything looking how you maybe want to look it. Make sure you follow that link up in the top right of the screen to check that video out if you haven't already. In this video we're going to start taking a look at the many areas of the user interface itself and look at the various options that we have within them, starting in this video with the viewport, which is this great big honking window which we can see in the center of the interface on the screen right now. Now, the viewport is where all the action happens within DAZ 3D, as it is the graphical representation of our scene or the project that we're working on. When we add models and environments and whatnot, they'll show up in this window and allow us to move them around and to manipulate and edit them and do all various things that we have to do. Now, at the moment, as you can see, it's pretty empty, but with a little bit of movie magic, we can add something into the scene. Now, don't worry for the moment on how we've done that. We'll get around to that in a later video when the time's right. All we need to know is that what we have now is the model of a young woman striking a pose and ready for us to do something with her. And one of the first things that we can do is we can take a look around. Up here in the top right of the screen that we can see up here, we can see a number of controls. First of all, we'll have a look at these icons down the side, this little twisty top one and these four arrows and the magnifying glass. If we hover over the twisty one, hold our left mouse button down and then move our mouse around, we can see that the camera that we're looking through, we can rotate it around and look at our model from all a load different angles. Likewise, if we come down to the icon below that with the four arrows pointing in different directions, we can give that a click and we can pan the camera around left and right, down, up, left and right. Now, with a combination of these two controls, we can look at our model from any angle and from any position that we choose to do so. The next icon down, the little magnifying glass, again, we hold the left mouse button down and then move our mouse backwards and forwards. We can zoom in and out of our scene. Likewise, we can have the same effect if we use the middle mouse button on our mouse, pull it back, we can come zoom in, push it forward, we can zoom out. The two little controls below this, the square with a little plus in, what that allows us to do is to focus on a particular item that we've got selected in the scene. So for instance, if we were to click on her arm there, what we can do is we can use this control just to give it a click and it will focus in the center of our screen that particular object that we've got selected. And the control below that, the circle with the arrow, if we give that a click, it will reset our view back to where we were. Now, I've turned off my cursor highlight for this little next section just so you can see what's going on, and that's taking a look at this little gizmo, this funky little thing that we can see up here. This allows us to do many of the same actions that we've just done with those icons. So for instance, if we click on this square and we rotate it around, you can see that we're rotating the camera around like we were using this spinny roty-tatey thing up here in the top right. But you'll also notice as well, though, there's writing on this square. For instance, we can see front there. If we hover over where it says front, you can see that it highlights in yellow. Now, if we give that a click, we can see that the camera will now spin around and give it us a front-on view of our model. If we just move it again, we can see there it says left. Give that a click and the camera will flip around to the side of our model. And likewise, we can go top if we wish, give it a click, or on all the other different directions. We've got back there and we'll have bottom and right and various other things. That's great. So that's a great way we can flip around to a particular view that we want to be able to view our model as. You'll also note that on this, where we've got the front highlighted, in between front and top, for instance, you can see there's another little highlight just there. Give that a click and it'll spin to a 45-degree view looking down on our character, and likewise if we went over to one of the sides, it would flip the camera around to a 45-degree view of our model. Now, it's up to you whether you use these controls down the side or you start using this to view your model, but whichever you're comfortable with, those are the way we can manipulate the particular camera that we're actually looking through at this time. And talking about what we're looking through, if you see this up here where it says perspective view, what we've got here is a little drop down menu. If we click on it, we can see things like perspective view, front view, left view, etc., etc. Now, your perspective view, which is the default, the way it'll be set, is a bit much like your workhorse view that you'll be manipulating things in your scene with. It's a nice, fast, smooth camera that we can rotate around, as we've just seen. The other views allow us to set fixed views on what we want to be able to look at. So, for instance, if we come down to front view and give it a click, we immediately flip around to a front view of our model. However, what's different is that we are unable to rotate this camera around. So if we come up to our little gizmo here, nothing's happening. Likewise, if we come up to the spinny top icon there, nothing happens. This is a fixed front view of our model. We can still pan, and we can still zoom in and out, but we're not able to rotate the camera around or the view around when we're working with this fixed view. Likewise, if we come to left, it's the same, or if we come to right, exactly the same. We can pan, but we can't rotate. These are fixed views that exist within DAZ. Now, one of the things that we're able to do with these views is to set up a number of different viewports if we so wish, and in each viewport look through a different view. So for instance, if we come up to the menu bar up at the top and we click on window and we come down to viewports, we can see a number of templates in the way that we can set up our viewport itself. You can see highlighted at the top is single view. That's the view that we're currently looking at now. But if we were to come down to side by side view and give it a click, we can see that the viewport's now being split into two separate viewports. That's what we've got. And in each viewport, we've got a series of camera controls on both of them and a series of places where we can select what view that we've got. So if we're over in this left window, we were to select perspective view, we get the normal controls that we would be able to use to control our model. But let's say that over here, we chose front view and we moved it around. We can now see our model in two different views. That way we can still use the perspective view, and over here we're stuck in this front view where we're only able to pan around. Likewise, if we really wanted to make things busy, we could come down and we could go with 4 views if you wanted, and you could have a different view in each of those viewports. For now, we're just going to continue to work in just the single view, just so that it gives a nice, big, clearer picture. Now, for the keen-eyed amongst you, on this menu that we've just been looking at, you can see that there's also something in there called camera. Now, what this is a camera that I've placed into the scene for my own purposes so that we can view the scene from any place that we want and fix that camera in place. Again, don't worry at this moment about how we put cameras in. We'll get to that when the time is right. But if I was to come down and select this camera, you can see that I've got it set up to create a little head and shoulders portrait type of view of our model, and it's through these cameras that we place in the scene that we're able to set things up how we want to view them, how we want our final renders to look. Now, just like the perspective camera, we can still move this camera around, although it's not as responsive as what the perspective camera is. It's a little bit clunky and it's a little bit slower. The reason for that is because the camera's having to do quite a few little calculations in the back end while we're moving it around, and it's not as smooth as the perspective camera as we've just seen. Now, up here next to the drop down where we select our cameras, there's this little icon that you can see there, this little sphere with an arrow next to it, a downward arrow next to it. If we give that a click, what we can see is a whole bunch of different ways that we are able to view our scene. What we're on at the moment as default is this texture shaded view that you can see there, but there's a variety of other different ways that we could view our model. For instance, we could click it into a wireframe if we wanted. I don't know how helpful that'll be. Some of them on here I have no understanding as to why they would be used in truth. So for instance, we've got one here called wire bound and box for reasons. If anybody does know why somebody would want to use this, then please drop it down below in the comments, because I'd be really interested to learn so myself. But yeah, most of these you might not use. Some are interesting to look at. I mean, we can go with wire texture shaded, so that's looking at the way that we've been looking at it so far, just also with a wireframe around it. But as I mentioned, the default that we're going to be using most of the time is going to be texture shaded. One other interesting one down here is this NVIDIA Iray. If you've got an NVIDIA graphics card, of which ideally you probably do need one with using DAS, because then you'll be able to use Iray render engine. This NVIDIA Iray allows us to view a preview of what our final render will look like when we send it off to render. It uses a few little tricks to make everything a lot faster than what it would be in real life if we were sending it off to a render, but it allows us to view a preview of how our render is going to look. So if I give that a click, we can see that we get a nice clear rendered preview of what our image will look like when we send it off to render. Now, if you don't have an NVIDIA graphics card, this might be a bit slow because ideally, as I mentioned, you need an NVIDIA graphics card to work with Iray. But if not, we do have other options, which we'll get to in a later video. But for now, those are the means and the ways of being able to view our scene. Like I say, though, most of them you probably will never use. But the basic default will be the texture shaded one and possibly the NVIDIA Iray also that you will use. And likewise, you've got your camera controls and you've got your camera selector box up here. Now, the final thing that we need to have a look at is just this little menu option that you can see above the spinny rotatory bit that we can use in our camera, and next to where we select our camera is this little symbol with the 4 lines and the little arrow next to it. These just allow us to organize our viewport or add things into our viewport that we're able to do to help us out. So for instance, if we give it a click, we can see that this is an option at the top. We've got the cube view controls, or we've got dock view controls. The default is the cube view controls, but if we go docked view controls, you can see that our camera and controls that we had up here in the top right have now been positioned on this bar along the top. Personally, I think it's better that way, but I'm so used to doing it with the controls over here, I never really put it on here. So yeah, you've got an option. You can either have them docked along the top of the window, or if we, where's the options gone? There they are. Come back to the options, or we can have the default setting that we get over there. Likewise, on this menu, we've got an option to show the floor, which if I was to come out, I'll tell you what, I'll just turn this display off. If I was to come out to the perspective view again and just select, we could show the floor or we could remove the floor. It's one of the options that we've got. It's just that floor is just there to help you position things again, and you may or may not want it on the screen. The next option is this show center access. We can give that a click, and what that access does, it just shows you where the center of your project is going to be. When you're looking out at this big scene, this big area where you can put things in, it might be nice to know just where the center of the environment is, and that option on the menu just allows you to either turn that on or off. This show aspect frame, if you give that a click, you can see it removes this white box that's around our model. However, if you do come back into camera and we go back across to NVIDIA Iray, you will see up here that you're still rendering or previewing, and you will still render when you go to render that area of the box. All that you're doing is you're just taking off the rectangle that defines where that is. When we come down to this next option, this show thirds grid, this is a handy little thing that I often tend to use quite a bit. When you put it on, you get this 9 square grid appear on your viewport, and it's great for helping you align things and center things that you've got in your viewport that you've got. Great little useful little tool, which is very useful, and I'm often using that. It does get in the way a little bit of times, so I do turn it off when I'm not using it. Finally, we've got the show pose tool. Now, what this is, if we again select something in our scene, you can see up here there's this little gizmo that turns up. Again, don't worry about what it is at the moment and how it works, but all that option in the menu does is it turns that on and off. You can have it on the screen, or you can have it turned off, which is what I've done, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and it will only show up when you've got something selected anywhere. The final 3 options that we've got down here, hide camera cube, hide and auto hide view options. The hide camera cube, it just hides that little gizmo up there that we've been using earlier on. It took me a while to work out what that was, actually. I've never used it. So yeah, I was trying to work out what was vanishing, and it turned out it was that. Likewise, the two options below that, you got auto hide view options. If we give that a click, you can see our camera stuff at the top disappears, but when we hover up near it, they come back on. And likewise, auto hide view controls, our little gizmos and icons on the side there, also only show when you hover over them. Why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but it could be a nice little option that you've got if you so wish. And so there we have it then. That is the viewport within DAZ, and it's one of the main areas where you're going to be doing a lot of your work when you're building scenes and you're creating your works of masterpiece that you will no doubt be doing very shortly after watching all these videos. So hopefully you found something in this video helpful, and if so, please give it a like down below, as it will let YouTube know that it's a decent video and will give it a boost in the rankings, which get more people able to see it. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell down below, because then you'll get informed when the next video in this series, or any of my normal everyday DAZ videos that I do, drop, and you get a little notification that has happened. Really appreciate it, obviously, if you do that, and again, it helps the channel big time if you do that. And finally, if you've got any comments or questions, whether it's on this video or about DAZ in general, then pop them down in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye now.